What's up? It's your boy. Here's another top 10 of a year, and this year is 98. It's not actually, it's 2024 I'm filming this. It's just a list of movies from 98, okay? So, here are the top 10 movies from 98, starting with number 10, not number 1, number 10, which is Mask of Zorro. Very lit. Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, and I'm Anthony. I don't know if I've said that. It's my channel name. We're all Anthonys in some way. Anthony, and Antonio Banderas. So, the three of us are Zorro. No, actually, I'm not in the movie. I do have a mustache, but not like theirs. Theirs is much cooler. Sometimes you really just want a good guy, right? Just pure good. What better way to have a good character than have a very evil villain? There's a huge trend in the last 10, 20 years, I'm getting old, to have villains be relatable. It's one thing to understand where they're coming from. It's another thing to actually prefer the villain and want them to win. There's so many movies that is the case, and I don't think that's what the filmmakers were going for. In this, though, Zorro, we have a very, very bad villain. He's just horrible.
Would you care for something to drink?
My point is, you can only get a really good character if you have a very bad character, because the good character overcomes them, either in the way of Luke Skywalker, turning them from evil to goodness. Like, he's got goodness for two people, not just one. And then you've got good characters because they beat pure evil. Aragorn, Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, right? They have beaten pure evil, so they are the best, unquestionably good. Mask of Zorro is about oppressed people. Its history, great visuals, the set pieces. Oh, set pieces are the best. You could call it a Western in the sense that it's sort of that desert period movie. The Mask of Zorro, not to be confused with The Legend of Zorro. It's okay, but definitely check out The Mask of Zorro. That's my number 10. Now we're going to number 9, Mulan. I loved Disney when I was a kid. I didn't really watch any of the live action like TV shows or any of that crap, but I loved the cartoons, movies in particular. So Mulan has one of the best soundtracks of just all time. Like, best of the Disney movies, best of animated movies. I actually don't like musicals, but Mulan is a musical where the characters are singing to explain what is happening. And I love it because the songs are bangers. They're bangers, okay? It's very well animated, very, very well voice acted, very, very cool. I think we should have more Mulan movies made every year because they're all good. Number 8. You know, I was just saying Mulan has the best soundtrack of all time. Well, actually, the best soundtrack of all time is The Prince of Egypt. This might be a competition here. We've got a year where there's two animated musicals. One's a Disney, one's DreamWorks. In this case, DreamWorks wins hands down. The best Hans Zimmer score, the best animation, and the best soundtrack. Bang! All together. If you don't like biblical stuff, you'll still love it. It doesn't matter. It's just a good story. Amazing scale. Obviously, you've got big pyramids and stuff, but even like the city and the streets, the way they animated it, the plagues, right? So they're exciting when they're happening. You've got motivation. They're slaves. No one can argue that slaves shouldn't be freed. 5 bags of popcorn, and I'll throw in a little pyramid. Number 7, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's gangster. It's British. It's fucking cool. All right. Great cast. It's gangster, but it's not American or Italian. It's British. And it's in London. There's crime. And it's kind of funny. Actually, it's very funny. There's some laugh out loud moments every time you watch that movie. And there's some horrendous stuff too. It's cool. And there's some hair on Jason Statham's head, which is not seen anymore. Number 6. This is actually something that not many people probably have heard of. It's a low-budget Australian movie. I live in Australia, so I actually was shown it at school in psychology. not even in a film class. There are other movies made the same way, like all shot in a room. Another movie probably in the same sort of genre would be 12 Angry Men. In this movie, there are 2 policemen and 1 interviewee. Hugo Weaving is awesome in it. Being a very interesting guy. He just wants to be fed. Just give him some food, man.
I'm starving. I'm starving.
Number 5 is baseketball. It's just funny. I know some things haven't aged well. That's what happens when you make sort of edgy comedy like the guys of South Park. Friendly, lighthearted feeling about it. Almost in the same way like Jackass does. Jackass is constantly pranking each other, but it's always in good fun. I feel like South Park is constantly pranking the world in usually good fun. Baseketball is a very silly movie. They do South Park voices in the movie. So if you like South Park, you'll like the movie. If you don't like South Park, you might still like the movie. It's almost like Dodgeball in the sense that it's like a sports comedy. It came out much before Dodgeball, and it's got a completely different cast and tone and sense of humor even. I'd say the sense of humor in basketball is definitely in the same vein as the South Park at the time. It's very silly, very random. Usually the jokes don't have much to do with the plot. And the plot itself isn't that funny. And that's where South Park over the years got better and better and better in the sense that they got just the funniest stories. I could go on about South Park for a long time, so I'll limit myself today. I'll make a South Park video one day. The sport's pretty funny. I'll give it that. The scenes where they're playing it are very entertaining. And it's actually a real sport. People actually turned it into a real game. I don't think anyone does it anymore, but it looks pretty fun. As you can tell, I like comedies. Now, a lot of movie critics basically just ignore comedies from top 10 lists. But movies are entertainment, and it's pretty hard to feel more entertained than laughing. Speaking of being entertained, my number 4 is Small Soldiers, boy! There's no way that this is a critically acclaimed movie. No one's ever said that, no one ever will say that, except for me right now, because I'm the one that's right. Everyone else is wrong. Small Soldiers has awesome special effects. Toys come to life. That's the movie. But unlike Toy Story, which only came out a few years prior, this is live action and the toys look live action. It's a bit easier to do CGI toys because they don't have to look like, the human pores on the skin and that sort of thing. But what you do get is much better realism for the fact that they look like toys most of the time. I actually can't think of a single bit of CGI in the movie that doesn't hold up. No, can't think of a scene. It's almost like Gremlins at times. You've got a young main character who's a pretty good actor, and he's surrounded by little things that just want to kill you. I love movies like that. Did I mention some of these are kids' movies? But definitely anyone can watch them. Unlike kids' movies now, do I like these movies because I saw them when I was a kid and now I still like them? Or if I watch them for the first time now as an adult, would I like it as much? There's Small Soldiers at number 4. Number 3. This is one that most people have on their lists. I'm sorry. I lost my originality. It's The Big Lebowski, okay? If you want to watch someone tongue a bowling ball, watch this movie. Here's an interesting comparison. The Big Lebowski, Dude, Where's My Car? I actually think they're very similar movies. They're both sort of road trip movies in an area. So they're not going a long way. It's just one sequence after another, recurring characters as they go from place to place. You've got zaniness, you've got comedy. I'd say The Big Lebowski is a bit more serious than Dude, Where's My Car? That movie takes itself not seriously at all and is one of the sweetest movies ever made. But The Big Lebowski is the dude. That's my number 3. Number 2 is The Truman Show. That's right, Jim Carrey's back. He's been in a movie in all my lists, hasn't he? Yeah. I watched it when I was a kid and still to this day think that people are watching me. Shouldn't have watched it when I was a kid. So we've got a character who doesn't know he's in a show and then he finds out he's in a show. So what do? That's the movie. The really cool thing with this movie is that nowadays, no one would ever think to cast a comedian in that role. Like, he's done nothing but comedies up to this point. It probably, in the script, wasn't supposed to be funny. That's hard to tell, though. A lot of 90s movies just were funny, which isn't really a thing anymore, unless it's like that Marvel, like, quirky, bantery funny, which is not the same. The Truman Show is more serious. It's almost a thriller. It definitely is at times. A psychological thriller, that's for sure. It's got some meaning, like there's basically a god character in the movie. And it says a villain, which unlike the Mask of Zorro, is more of that gray area. He's not pure evil. He actually cares and kind of even loves Jim Carrey's character, Truman. It's a meta movie, right? You got a show within a movie. The movie is aged better than most, if not every movie, because what happened with reality shows is insane. I know there were reality shows back then, but this is the most reality ever. And that was the idea within the movie, is they want to have the audience connect with someone from birth as they grow up. One last thing I will say about it is that some people don't like it. And I don't know why. I love the bit where it rains on him. And he moves and he follows him. It's awesome. Number 1, it's actually on my top 10 movies of all time list, Saving Private Ryan. So this is my number 1 movie of the year 1998. It's a banger. It's a bop. There's a lot that I could say about this. So what I will start with is actually the criticism of the movie. Some people say the plot's dumb, which I get, but they address it in the movie. That's why the crew hate Matt Damon. So it's about this crew going to save this character, Private Ryan. And Private Ryan is from a wealthy family, and they need to get him. Without Steven Spielberg putting his all into this movie, it wouldn't be what it is. When the chestburster came out in Alien, the actors didn't know what was going on because the script was hidden from them. It makes sense because when you see their reactions, they're pretty shocked. So that was really clever, right? So they did a similar thing in this, in the sense that they had a boot camp for the main team, except for Matt Damon's character. Matt Damon plays Private Ryan. Matt Damon was like the goody two-shoes that didn't have to go to boot camp. The other characters all went to boot camp, and guess what? They felt annoyed. Like, what the fuck? Who is this guy that doesn't have to join us boot camp? And it's in the script. Now, I don't know how annoyed they actually were. I don't know if they knew their roles in the script. Probably. So surely they understood what was going on. Either way, Matt Damon didn't have to go to boot camp, so he's feeling a little bit cool. This was a huge movie when it came out. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's watching it. It's like the Passion of the Christ. So you've got this opening scene that is brutal and has been replicated since many, many times. But at the time, there was probably no scene in a movie that brutal. You got guts, you got limbs, you got people being shot in the head, you got just people being mowed down. It's sickening, especially if it's the first time you've seen anything like that.
Jesus! Come on, lucky bastard.
Bring it back to the cast. Matt Damon, of course. We've got Vin Diesel. We've got Tom Hanks. Like, he was at his A game in the 90s as well. Everyone loves Tom Hanks, especially in the 90s. He's the one in charge of the team. It's funny because someone like Vin Diesel is only in the main character role these days. But at the time, he was a relatively minor character in the team. The other movies on this list are good. Obviously, they're the best movies of the year. But this movie is by far the best. We have leaped. We've gone from like A to the top of S tier. So that's my top 10 of 98. We are doing this every week until the end of time. I'm not sorry. I hate it when people say sorry or sorry not sorry. You know, it's like, I'm not sorry that you're wrong. Goodbye.